Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us for our teacher training for the Day in the Life program this morning. We'll get started. Please feel free to ask us questions as we move throughout the teacher training this morning. There'll also be time for questions at the end. Just to introduce our speakers this morning, my name is Jane Smith. I will be doing most of the introduction talking. Our trainer this morning will be Peter Pentland. Mike Griffin, the API CEO, sends his apologies this morning. He's actually hosting an industry innovation summit, so wasn't able to join us this morning, but very much is looking forward to connecting with you all over the program. Just the agenda for this morning, we'll give you a very brief overview again about why our sponsors ATSE and API are investing in a STEM future, and we'll do the overview of the Day in the Life program again. The main purpose of today's webinar, however, is to run through the training package. You should have received your first draft of the training booklet and also your resource kits by now, and hopefully you've had a little chance to have a look at those. We'll then confirm what the next steps are. Just in terms of the Australian Power Institute, API has been on a journey around continuous supply of capable professionals to the power industry over a number of years now. Since its inception, they've done a lot of work with universities, branching into high schools in partnership with STELR and ATSE, who are also helping us with this. And this Day in the Life program is really the opportunity to start connecting with our primary school students to go right back to where the start of the pipeline is, to encourage people into industry and particularly create that awareness around STEM occupations for the future. API is a non-profit member-owned organisation, has a number of members throughout industry as well as a significant number of industry partners. I guess the key message here is, you know, all of API's member organisations and the partners with which they partner with in industry are very much behind, you know, the education programs that API gets involved with and sponsors in order to ensure that there's continuous pipeline of professionals to industry moving forward. I'll hand over to Peter to talk a little bit about the Australian Academy of Technology and Engineering.
Okay, thank you, Jane. The ATSE, as we now know, is a learned academy of about 800 elected fellows. So it's not an academy where we hold classes. It's a lot of professionals who have reached the top of their trade and have been elected into the academy. One of these people is Alan Finkel, who's the current chief scientist, and he was the person who came up with the idea of the STELR program, Science, Technology, Education, Leveraging Relevance, back in 2008. So the Academy is very concerned about STEM education. We want to extend the reach of our STELR program, which is now running in 750 schools around the country, and we want to show kids that science is relevant to their lives and that the pathways to careers. Okay, so there are the objectives for STELR. We want to increase participation rates in STEM subjects, make them relevant to their lives, raise awareness of opportunities in tech-related careers, improve the quality of science classroom teaching practice, and improve the level of science literacy and understanding. And we really see this Day in the Life of a 7-year-old as being pivotal for that. We've just seen some research recently that says early primary is absolutely important in getting kids to start thinking about STEM careers and following those pathways to achieve those careers.
Okay, so our Day in the Life program, you may remember from the information that we've sent to you, is all about encouraging curiosity in 7-year-olds. And through this pilot program for 2019, we're fortunate enough to have a number of composite classes involved as well. So we are actually talking to some grade 1 and some grade 3 students as well through our program. The key thing for us is really about, as we said, encouraging the curiosity in the STEM disciplines, and that's about creating awareness around what happens in STEM-related occupations, particularly through the Day in the Life routine. We're really focused on making sure that whatever we do can be incorporated into the Australian curriculum, so it doesn't become a choice of trade-off. It actually supports you with having a really valuable resource to teach in the classroom, and a lot of our program is designed around the design and technology focus with really easy to use, we're hoping, resources to support you. The other thing is it's really focused on the skills. So rather than being subject specific, it's really focused on developing those 21st century skills in our kids. So talking about critical and creative thinking, personal and social capability. And I guess the other piece is about promoting that common understanding of STEM. So what does it actually look like for the future? So we'll hop into our training. Peter, I'll hand over to you.
Right, thank you. Now I'm going to have my booklet beside me, so if you've got a printed off copy, it might be a good idea to have that open up to page 3 so that you can jot down some notes as we go through, and that might spur some questions for later on. Now, the program was written by Greg Smith, who's a senior lecturer in education at Charles Darwin University. So he's really tried to make this absolutely relevant to the Year 1 to 3 level of students. We can see this program also being used all through primary, so give it a go and see how you like it for other members in your classes. Now, there are 6 modules. They're currently called lessons in the written materials that we've handed over, but really it's longer than one lesson, each of those lessons, so there are a number of activities that we'll go through. We don't expect you to do every activity. You know your students, you know how they're going to respond. The 2 big modules that we want you to concentrate on are Module 1, where we find out what the students want to do when they leave school at the moment, and Module 6, where we revisit those questions and find out if there has been any shift in their desired jobs and careers of the future. A lot of them won't have even thought about it too much at the moment, so this way we're hoping to give you a bit of focus. There are teacher notes starting on about page 18 of the booklet. So there are a lot of sheets that can be copied. At the moment, we're going to get a professional designer to make those more attractive worksheets that you can hand out to your students. So they'll be provided when we give you the resources on a memory stick, which will be in the next few weeks. So the important thing is we're providing options for you, the teachers, to choose from as we go through this program. Okay, Module 1, what I want to be when I grow up. I've put down some of the curious questions that are at the start of each lesson or each module, and these are things that you can ask the students to stimulate discussion. So the first lesson, there is, I guess, a range of options for you to get the kids thinking about it. Share, pair. I've got it all around the wrong way. Get them to think, share and compare, I guess, with each other. And that Y chart there is around what it looks like, what it sounds like, and what it feels like when they're doing their career. Over to Module 2, My Journey. Now, the main activity in this is doing a flow chart, and the idea of the journey is the basic idea that Jane and co had back at the start was following the activities that a student will do from when they wake up in the morning to when they get to school, and that could also be extended from getting back what they do at school to getting back home. Now there's a bit of a plan there on the slide as to I woke up and I arrived at school, and some of the activities and objects that they do along the way, and that is teased out. There is more cards that you can fill out further back in the teacher notes beyond Module 6. So on page 23 and 24 are the templates for those cards, but we'll draw those up and make them have some better pictures for the objects that we've got in there, so it's not just all words, but there is a visual aspect of it. And the real thing is for students to become aware of STEM careers behind the objects and activities that they're doing. Okay, Module 3, we're looking at materials and technology. Now, one of the things in the equipment kit that you've got is a little clip-on microscope, and we'll talk about that one later, but I'll touch on the reason behind that at the moment. We figure that most primary schools do not have microscopes that kids can use, but every teacher has got a smartphone, so this is a little microscope that will clip over the lens of your camera on your smartphone, and you'll be able to show kids on your smartphone screen what materials look like up close, or you can go in and look at the leaves, fly wings, and dragonfly wings are particularly good too for doing that. The activities in this are around grouping objects, and another one around objects and materials that make them. So then looking, and Greg's got an activity there on doors, the 4-door thing with electricity, wearing, move and eating. Okay, so now we can move on to the next slide. Module 4, STEM at Work, Inventing the Future. Now, this one might be good to tease out over a number of lessons. There's an activity on STEM careers, and I think I've actually put the pictures on the wrong screen for this one. There are posters and cards, and on page 27 you can see what the posters look like, and also on the next slide we can have a look at that, and then we can go backwards in a minute. Okay, so science careers, technology career, engineering career and mathematics career. Print these out as A3s, and in your activity kit there are 3 packs of cards, and the students work in groups looking at a poster each time around a science career, so they match up the card with the career. So pretty visual on that one. Once again, I think read through the activity as Greg has written it out, and then you know, just make sure that you anticipate. This might be a good one for playing with your colleagues and anticipating how well your students will be able to do that activity. Then there are stories of STEM careers, and this came from one of our proof of concept schools where they had books Rosie Revere, Engineer, Iggy Peck, Architect, and Ada Twist, Scientist. On page 29 of the booklet, there are links to read aloud copies of these books. So if you don't have a hard copy of the book, don't worry, you can click on that link and listen to the read aloud activities, read aloud version of it. A very important activity, and the one that was probably the most successful in getting kids to think about STEM careers in our proof of concept program, was the having guests in to talk about their STEM careers. So one of the schools, this activity coincided with when they were getting parents in and grandparents in to talk about what it was like when they were at school, what their favourite toys were, what they wanted to be when they grew up, and what they did in their jobs, how they chose their careers, all those sorts of things. And Greg has written a number of questions that you can use to ask your guests, or prompt the guests if the kids aren't coming up with great questions themselves. API bursary holders. Jane, perhaps I'll hand back to you and you can explain what a bursary holder is and how you can get one.
So API, as part of their investing in the pipeline, do sponsor a number of bursary students to complete their engineering degrees. Last year we had bursary students attend the schools that were piloting and talk a little bit about what they were thinking or what they could recall they were thinking around the grade 2 mark and where they're at now in terms of their study and what that might look like going forward. We had the students come along and assist particularly with the practical activities that occurred with the modules and just did a bit of, supporting the kids in their design thinking in terms of progressing with those activities. We do have the option available for the schools participating in the pilot to access bursary students, depending on your location and the location of the students. We do have them nationally. Sometimes they can attend face-to-face, otherwise we would need to work out from a technology perspective, is there a way that we can connect them via, a webinar or some other form of technology?
Yep,
Skype. But yeah, the bursary students, all the students that are involved in this are blue cards, so it's just whatever else you need from a school perspective for those students to attend your school, just let us know that as well. But it was one of the most popular resources last year in the program. Was actually the kids felt that they could relate to the students and see themselves as a student moving forward, looking at some level of career.
Yeah, these people are much younger and closer to their age than someone like me. There are also national programs like Scientist in Schools or STEM Specialist in Schools, which is run by the CSIRO. That might be a good one to link up with. And we've put in Women in Engineering, which is a program running out of University of Queensland, but they have chapters in every state. So they will contact us if you're having trouble and we can try and match you up. But really also look at the industries that are near your school and make contact with them and see if they can send along someone. Often the industries are very keen to reach out to the community and send along someone to speak.
So in your letter there's a link if you would like to access this resource. If you could just fill in the link and let me know. What I'll then do is I'll match you with an appropriate resource that we can get to meet your needs and what you're looking for. Then what I'll do is obviously get permission from both parties to share contact details, and then you can liaise directly with the person that we've arranged, just so that you can work around your own diaries in terms of how that might work. But if you are interested in tapping in, just fill in the link and we can facilitate that arrangement for you.
Yep. Now, if as an absolute backstop, we're going to get some of the bursary holders and together with a group of Year 2 students, and we'll video their interactions with those students and their questions. So that will be provided on our USB stick of resources that will be sent out to you. Now, we also, STELR had a program called Women in STEM and Entrepreneurship, where we produced 20 videos of young women working in a wide variety of STEM careers. And we used outtakes from the videos that we made of these women to put together the STEM awareness video for primary schools, which is down there on the bottom right-hand corner. And we are going to have a look at that right now. Thank you.
Science, technology, engineering and maths, or STEM, impacts our lives every single day. From the flick of a switch to the food we eat, STEM has played a part in making it all happen. This is Sheena Ong. She is an engineer working on a solar power farm in Alice Springs. Sheena's goal is to use natural energy from the sun to provide electricity to people living in remote areas. Sonia Basson is an engineer working in renewable energy. Sonia has worked all around the world discovering new sustainable ways to capture energy, including solar, wind and hydroelectricity. This is Sarah Last. She is an entrepreneur who has created her own company to provide a more ethical environment for animals in the food industry. Pia Winberg is a marine biologist and entrepreneur. Pia's company creates food from seaweed, providing a nutritious and sustainable food source. This is Ella Gross. She is a water engineer working on designing the water systems that provide clean water to our homes. Nikki Robinson is an engineer working for the government to make sure the water provided to our homes is clean and safe for use. This is Julie Shuttleworth. Julie started her career as a metallurgist and is now Deputy CEO of Fortescue Metals Group. Her role is to turn the raw earth materials into usable metals. Marianne Foley is a fire safety engineer. Her role is to make sure all of our buildings, from the small to the large, are safe and efficient to use. This is Vanessa Rowland. She is a researcher and entrepreneur in the field of climate change. Her goal is to reduce our carbon output to help create a more sustainable environment. Cass Hunter is a Kuki-Ulangi and Torres Strait Islands marine scientist. Cass works on the impact of climate change with communities in far north Queensland. These women and many more work in science, technology, engineering and maths to help improve our communities and create a more sustainable world for us to live in.
Okay, I hope that's okay with everyone. Now, because it's women in STEM, perhaps the students will notice that there were no boys in that one, but we think that there's usually such a bias for boys doing engineering anyway, and there will be other videos out there featuring a lot of men doing engineering, so we might leave that up to you if you want, if you feel that it is an issue that there are all girls, but we really do want girls to be comfortable with choosing STEM careers and seeing these STEM role models. There is a poster on the last page of the booklet which shows the a link to the STELR website and all the women that we have the 2-minute videos of. Now they might be a little highfalutin for the lower primary school level, but have a look yourselves, and that might be something that you can follow up on. And some of those women have expressed an interest in linking up with students as well, being part of this program. Okay, now lesson 5 is STEM in action, working with the team Rosie, Iggy and Ada. Now there are a number of design problems, so design challenges. So this is on page 10 of the workbook. The first problem is tallest structure challenge, where each group gets 20 sticks of spaghetti, a metre of sticky tape, a metre of string and 1 marshmallow. And the object is that they build a tower using those materials, and the marshmallow has to sit on top. This is a famous activity that's been done with university students down to preschool students, and some of the preschool students are the ones that build the highest towers. The university students usually don't do terribly well with this one. So this might be a fun activity for you to try in a staff meeting where you're doing your planning about implementing this program. See how you go doing the activity yourself. And this is something that I really recommend with all of the activities, is that you try them out first so that you can anticipate what sort of problems that your students will have. And I'll put in a link into the teacher notes as to where you can see people talking about doing this particular activity. And this is an activity that in the proof of concept phase, the visiting bursary students were able to help the students, ask them, walk around and give advice and things like that when they were building their towers. Now, problem number 2, there was a focus on water, and floating and sinking is another issue that we've got. So there's a floating challenge there where you're using something that's heavier than water and trying to make it float. And the big tip is try to make something that looks like a boat out of it and see how many paper clips you can support. If the paper clips are too light for your challenges, you could go to loading up the shapes with marbles and seeing how many marbles the best designs can support before they sink. So first one is using aluminium foil. I think the second one is using plasticine to make their boat shapes. Now, I think we might move on to the next. No, go back. Too early. Now, there is air car racing is problem 3, and this is on page 11. And this is an activity that we put into the STELR program for talking about energy transfers and transformations. And we used, it's coming up on slide 18, we used a cotton reel racer activity that I got from the Ladybird Book of Games to Make and Do from 1960. But our manufacturer designed up really good big cotton reels that will work. A little tip on this one is that the rubber bands that are provided in the kits are probably a bit strong. So if you get a packet of number 16 rubber bands, they will go perhaps a lot better and further. Okay, next one. Okay, now this is the big lesson where we look at did the kids' ideas change? So the activity, the new future me, what are you doing in the future now? What's your career? Draw a picture of your future career and what made you change your ideas is good data to collect. And this is also very important going back to Module 1. Make sure you record what the students wanted to do before they started out, and then we want to be able to compare that with what they want to do after they've done the intervention. And we've given you some, the results from the 2 proof of concept schools there with identifiers removed. So it might be a little hard for you to read on the screen, but we have had a big change in what the students wanted to do before and after. One school recorded the male and female data. Jane, do you think that would be good for our evaluations?
I think it would be useful to know if you get the opportunity to do that. It was good to see the shift between the kids. But certainly whichever way you want to record the information is up to you. But this is the one piece that hopefully from a supporting looking at how effective the program's been, this is the data that we would be requesting, obviously completely unidentified, to protect the privacy of your students.
Yeah, what we might do is actually draw up a sample chart that you can use or not, but that way it might be a little easier for us to compare the shifts at the different schools if we're using a similar sort of format. But whatever way you want to do it is fine by us. Okay.
Going
So next we've got, you should have all by now received a Day in the Life energy kit. So what we'll do here is open up the kit on the next slide and have a look at what we've got. So Play Your Cards Right is the cards that they use to go with the posters. The little clip-on microscope you can see there. As well, there's a test rig, bright yellow there, which has got a motor, a buzzer, a light bulb, an old, the kids probably won't have seen one of these ones with a little filament in it, a light bulb like that, and an LED. And then we've got those air racers or the cotton reel racers. Down the bottom is something that has got a handle on it, and that is a electricity generator. So the kids crank the handle for that, they'll make electricity, and they'll get things on the test rig to work or not. And down the bottom too is a few flick flacks, STELR flick flacks. I've put in 3 or 4 of those, and we'll talk about them a little bit later as well. So let's go through and have a look at the individual items. The cotton reel racer, we've got a video to show you how to put that together. So let's have a look at that video now.
This video shows you how to make a cotton reel car. So you'll need the STELR cotton reel car and a piece of dowel that's supplied in the renewable energy kit. You also need a rubber band, and I've also got a paper clip that I've opened up to use as a hook, which just helps me get this set up. The car has 2 different ends. This end has a hook on it, so we start by hooking the rubber band over that hook, and then we need to get the rubber band through the hole at the other end, and this is where the hook is helpful. So I'll just put it through and hook it over the rubber band and bring it through the hole like this. Then I can put the dowel into that end of the rubber band and wind it up. Then I'm ready for the cotton reel car to go like this. Students can have a race to see how far they can go, and they can try some different variables. An easy thing to try is using different types of rubber bands. So here I have one with a thinner rubber band. We'll wind that up and see how that goes. We can try them on different surfaces, such as lino or carpet or the desktop that we're using. And you can also try removing the O-ring, which is around the edge here, which is like removing the tyres from a car and trying it without its tyres.
Okay, so hopefully you've got some idea of how to put it together now. Please play with it yourself and anticipate before you let the kids loose on it. Next slide, we have the hand crank generator. This is one piece that was designed in Japan. You can see inside the generator there are gears, so you might like to talk to some students about gears. To connect the generator to the test rig, there is some cables provided, which I've got there on the right hand side of the screen. It doesn't matter which way in you put the plug, whether you won't get it upside down, but some of the things on the test rig won't work when you crank in one direction. So Chris will go on to the next slide. So here's our test rig. The ones which have got a red terminal, a red socket that you plug the cables into, will only work when the electricity goes through them in one direction. So it will perhaps get the kids to plug in and crank the handle in one direction, and the buzzer will buzz and the LED will light up. If they crank in the other direction, they won't work. So you can just say that some electronic devices only work when electricity flows in one direction, and LEDs are one of those that they'll encounter quite a lot. The black terminal just goes into the black socket up the top left-hand corner, and you move the red terminal, the red part of the cable, into the buzzer, the lamp, the LED and the motor terminals. Really important to let every student have a play with each of those. You've only got one of them, but see who can make the light go brightest, see who can make the buzzer go buzziest, and just get them to have that body experience of, you know, I'm cranking and I'm producing electricity. Now, the flick-flack. The flick-flack comes with its instructions printed on the flick-flack. We thought that was a little clever of us. So you've got to take that card, you've got to cut it in half, you've got to put tape across it and connect the rubber band to it. We do have a video on how to do this, so let's have a look at that one.
Hello, my name's Penny Stoyles. I'm the STELR Program Manager, and today I'm going to show you how to make the STELR Flick-Flack, which is an energy toy that demonstrates energy transformations. You'll need a STELR Flick-Flack card. It's a plastic card with 2 holes punched in it, a paper clip, some plastic tape, some scissors, 1 rubber band, but I've got a few extra ones because you could try different sizes. And if you don't have a STELR Flick-Flack card, you can use an old store loyalty card, but you will need to punch the holes in it yourself. The first step is to cut the flick-flack in half along the dotted lines. You need to put the 2 halves of the flick-flack on the table with a small gap in between them, and then we're going to tape it together with some plastic tape. The next step is to poke the rubber band through the holes, going through that side and then also through this side, just like that. Now I'm going to put a paper clip through the rubber band on the outside of the V shape, and this is to hold the rubber band in place, and the rubber band will stay in place. Now I'm pulling the rubber band through the second hole. The next step is to tie a knot in the other end of the rubber band. So students can make these and have competitions to see who can go the highest. You can experiment with tightening or loosening the rubber band, or using different rubber bands, different widths and sizes can be used to see how high you can make your flick-flack go.
Okay, so that's how to make a flick-flack. Now you've only got 4. You're saying, oh dear, how will we find more plastic cards? At the moment, ATSE has got quite a few, thousands of them that we're going to throw away. So that's when I said, oh, don't throw them out, we can use those in day in the life of a 7-year-old. So if you want to get another 30 or so of just plain plastic cards with applied on one side of them and nothing on the other side, you'll have to cut them in half yourself and punch a hole, punch holes in them, but use those flick-flack cards. Yeah, so write to me, let me know, and we'll bundle them up and send them out to you. Okay, now the next item that we've got in the kit is the microscope for smartphones. So you put it over the lens of your smartphone there. There is a little barrel on the side which has got 2 settings. It contains batteries and it will drive either a white LED or a ultraviolet LED. And the ultraviolet LED might be good for looking at different types of rock that fluoresce and give off different colours, is one thing that they can be used for. You centre the image on your screen, and then you can use your fingers to swipe it and make the image fill up the whole screen. Take the photo or video, and then when you're looking at the photo, you can increase the size of the magnification of that, or put it onto your smartboard and look at what you've taken the picture of. Cloth is very good for that. printing, where they can see all the little dots in the image, and yeah, anything at all you want to have a look at. And next, we're going to send out a USB. Now, I didn't have the proof of the USB that you'll be getting. It won't be blue. It'll have STELR on one side. It'll have API logo on the other side, and it will be bright orange, so you won't lose it. And that will have the Word documents, Word versions of the book, so that you can cut and paste and make up your own program if you wish from those resources. It will have the videos, it will have the charts, it will have PowerPoints on how to put things together as well. So we'll give you a lot of resources, and it'll be important to have a look at that. Next slide, we've got a STELR website, which will hopefully have those videos on them as well. We do have the videos on YouTube, but a lot of schools have blocked YouTube. So for the next one, there's Australia's Science Channel, which is not blocked by schools. We have a video channel on that as well. And I think that's it from me for the moment, Jane.
Thank you, Peter. Okay, so the next steps from here is if you are interested in accessing a bursary student or one of the other resources that Peter talked about to talk to your students, please let me know. It would be good to get that happening before school holidays so that you can get up and running, ready to go live in week 1 of term 4, which is the targeted start date. The other key date that's coming through the program is the week commencing the 13th of December. We will request that you have your feedback on the program back to us. We will then send you a copy of all of the feedback for you to have a look at, to see what you think in terms of where we go next with this program, whether we end up doing a pilot 2020 for other schools to be involved. I think the key thing is if you have any questions, any feedback, please feel free to email Peter and myself throughout the program. You don't need to wait until the end as well. We are more than happy to support you in terms of making this program a success. So I guess the key thing now is, does anyone have any questions? So you can enter the questions via your chat box if you have any. Okay, doesn't look like we've got any questions, so...
They might be typing furiously.
They might be.
They might have long involved questions. I'll
just give a couple more minutes to see if anyone's got any questions. We do want to say thank you very much again for engaging in our pilot for 2019. We hope that you enjoy working through the resources, and we hope that your students enjoy working through the program as well. Certainly, as you heard in our previous webinars, the 2 schools that were part of Pilot 2018 certainly enjoyed the program, so we hope that you do too. So it doesn't look like there's any questions. So thank you very much for attending this morning. Again, the offer is there if you have any questions or you think of anything later, please let us know. Yep. We will be sending out a recording of the webinar for you also. Oh, we have a question.
Oh.
If we have a combined class, do you want the data for both grades or just grade 2? Thank you for your question. It would be great to get what grades the students are in as well. We would really appreciate the data for grade 1s, grade 2s, grade 3s, just so that we can have a look at, was there a variance between the age groups. As Peter said, longer term, this program could be applied to any age students in terms of tracking a day in the life, getting more complex as you move up through the school levels. So and if you could note their grade, as Peter said, we're happy to design a template, so I'll make sure I include that on the template as well. So thank you for that question. Any other questions?
I guess I have a question too, did this webinar, was it of use? Has it been helpful to you?
how many uni students would visit the school? Look, thank you for that question. Last year it varied. We had them attend in pairs last year to support the schools. I guess it varies based on where schools are located and how we could access. So it could be 1 to 2 depending on your location and how we connect with you.
Yeah, we went for a pair so that there was a male and female role model. But then if we're getting people from women in engineering, it would be 2 women, so...
Yep.
Or 1.
Yep. Any other questions? Thank you. We just got a comment to say that the training has been good and helpful and looking forward to participating. So thank you. We are looking forward to you participating as well.
Yes.
Could we register? Certainly. I will take your details and we will get you some flick flacks. That looks like that might be it. Thank you very much again for your time today and appreciate you coming in early to do this program. I hope you have an enjoyable day and we shall talk again soon.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.